Our first reading from that first letter of St. John has some confusing aspects to it, I would say. This is one of those ones that, as you read through it and you try to parse out the different pieces, has always struck me as a little odd. For St. John says, the way we are sure we know Jesus is if we keep his commandments. If one does not keep his commandments, that one is a liar, the truth is not in him. But if you do keep his word, if you do keep those commandments, the love of God is perfected in him. So if you keep the commandments, what happens is the love of God is perfected in you. And then he goes on to that second part of our reading today where he talks about what is this commandment or what is this great commandment. It is not a new commandment, but one that has been with them from the beginning, and I'm sure we know or are familiar with this one. It is to love God above all things and your neighbor as yourself. It is to love God, love your neighbor. And he is saying, if you do not do this, then you are still in the darkness, you are failing to keep that commandment, and you don't have that life of God in you. So he's saying the commandment itself is to love God. And what is the result of that commandment that we heard in the first part? Is to love God. So it seems almost circular reasoning. To love God means to love God. And if you love God, then you will love God. Sure, that makes sense, but why is he talking about it here? And why is he using almost circular logic to express it? And there are some different ways of interpreting that or looking at it. But one of the ones I think can be helpful for us is this remindment that the commandment to love is an action in which we are to participate. That yes, that love must first come from God, but it must be incorporated into our lives. We must have a part of it. We must participate in his love, in actively loving others. And that is an essential element here in the text of John, that this isn't something simply passive that happens to us. This is something that we are meant to do. But there's also then that aspect that as we observe that commandment, as we carry out that love to which we are called, love of God and love of neighbor, it is supposed to then perfect the love of God in us. And there are aspects of this which I would say helpful to think about if you think not so much as that love of God equals the love of God, but is part of what we are meant to do continually. It is a continual action, and that it is not complete until that perfection takes place. It is not complete until we get to heaven, where that love is truly perfected. And it can be that reminder to persevere in that love. Because if you love God and you seek to live in that love and follow his commandments, and then at some point you stop and you turn away from God and you deny him and you live no longer for God but for yourself, that love is not perfected in you, and that love is lost. We must be pursuing actively and continually that love unto the very end, unto its perfection, unto that goal of heaven. And this is an important understanding for us, because one of the things that, is sometimes said, sometimes the question is, have you been saved? Sometimes Protestants will use that, and sometimes even specifically attack Catholics with that question, have you been saved? And we might respond, I don't know. I certainly hope to be in the grace of God. And if I am, I pray that God might keep me there, and if I am not, I pray that he might bring me to that grace. The great response of St. Joan of Arc. But to say for sure that we have been saved, or that love is perfect in us already, is in some ways not understanding what John is talking about, is not understanding love, is not understanding our active participation, is not understanding our need to continually live that love so that it might be perfected, that there might be that salvation, there might be that heaven in our future. That is the goal. That is how we are meant to live now and throughout this life. To love, to carry out the commandment, so that that love might be perfected in us.